Hello, everyone, and welcome to part 3 of Film.Music Media's second annual symposium. My name is Kaya Savas. I'm the founder of Film.Music Media. We have an amazing panel here tonight of great guests, composers and storytellers, and we're going to talk about all their individual projects and everything in between. So let's jump in and introduce our panel. First up, he is the composer for the Venezuelan film Plastico and the co-composer for the documentary Explant, which premiered at Tribeca. Please welcome Sandro Morales Santoro. Welcome, Sandro.
Hey everyone, great to be here. Thanks, guys.
Yes, thanks for joining us. Next, she is the composer for the documentary Invisible Nation. Please welcome Wei-San. Hi, Wei-San.
Hi.
Nice to meet you. All right. So next, he is the composer for the HBO Max and Cartoon Network Latin America animated series, Frankelda's Book of Spooks. Please welcome Kevin Smithers.
Hey, everyone.
Hey, Kevin. All right, but last but not least, they are the composers for Netflix's Luis Miguel, the series, and Amazon's Maradona Blessed Dream. Please welcome Camilo Froideval and Dan Zlotnik. Hey, guys.
Hello, everyone.
Everybody.
Great to be here.
All right. So let's start. Kevin, I want to talk to you. Frankelda's Book of Spooks is a unique project because it has spooky themes made for a younger audience. And I know exactly where it comes from. I work at Cartoon Network Studios in Burbank. We have a show called Victor and Valentino, kind of similar in the horror genre. So I'm curious, just from your take, how do you find that balance in composition and make something that can be still engaging for that audience?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny that you mentioned that. I actually work with Arturo on Victor and Valentino in each episode.
Oh, you do?
So,
right.
Yeah. So I'm very familiar with the show. Yeah, it's a funny thing because the project was really meant to be enjoyed by everyone, not just for kids. So the line on making it fun for everyone was kind of established by the development team, by the creators, by the showrunners, and I'm a big believer that like the music should never be dumbed down just because a project is meant for kids, because kids are way more receptive and smart than some people give them credit for. And so I kind of go all out, even if it's a kid's show. I never restrain myself. And with the spookiness, there's two things. I think sometimes when things are getting a little weird and spooky, maybe dialing it down to the more kind of fantasy and adventure side of things is a safe way to do it. In this particular show, because we had the fortune that we had musical numbers, that kind of naturally kind of made it a little bit more light and fun, I think, for the kids when things were starting to get a little creepy. So in a way, I feel like the show kind of managed to like navigate that pretty well on its own, and I just kind of like went with it.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I agree with that statement completely, because I grew up watching a lot of Don Bluth films, Land Before Time and stuff like that, and he always would say, don't your children, don't dumb it down for kids, like treat them as adults. Their emotions are real and valid and everything. I totally agree with that. So let's go over to Dan and Milo. I want to talk to you about your score for the Netflix series Luis Miguel, the series. For some background, Luis Miguel is one of the best-selling Latin artists of the 90s, having sold around 60 million records worldwide. What was it like working on a project for such an iconic musical artist, and how did this influence the score, since they have kind of a musical language of their own, and how did that kind of trickle down to your work?
Well, the first thing we were like trying to figure out is how much like music do we need in a show that has so much music, has a lot of songs. They reproduce the whole like catalog of music for Luis Miguel. The lead actor Diego Boneta did record all the songs again, so there was a lot of music already, and we like tried many different ways to approach the show. And the thing that it was like sticking to the image the better was like pretty much a minimalistic, like just like trying not to make the show like a novela, like it's a show in Latin America. We are used to novelas, so we were trying to not to tell anything in the music. So we're really cool, really cold, like trying not to say anything, and it kind of worked because the show it's more interesting now, and it's a little bit more mysterious, even when it's the life of someone that we all know, like in Latin America and mainly in Mexico. So yeah, that was like the first struggle and how we managed to solve it.
Wei-San, I want to jump over to you. Your next project Invisible Nation follows the first female president of Taiwan, Tsai Ing-wen, and Taiwan's struggle for human rights, democracy, and inclusion. How do you keep the score authentic to the Taiwanese culture and its time period?
I think being authentic to the culture is important, especially when the history and fact, and whether we fully understand the culture or we do a lot of researches. And in case you don't know, Taiwan, for the past 400 years, Taiwan has been colonized by Dutch, Spanish, and Japanese until 1945. And then the current government took over, then it's transformed from dictatorship to democracy. So it has developed Taiwanese identity, cultural identity. So part of this film explains that part of history. And I have the advantages because I was born in Taiwan. So I naturally know how to make that part authentic. This film is not just about Taiwan, because it is also about like how the foreign policy decisions like made globally and between US and China impact the Taiwanese people. So I was excited because I get to score a US film about Taiwan, and then I get to score the other part of the world. It really covers a lot of like historical archives. It has like from Kennedy to Nixon to Carter. So I get to score some like 70s sync score when US diplomacy in the 70s.
Yeah.
And then it just when I thought, oh, great, I got the Taiwan part covered, and then I got the rest of the world covered, they decided to re-edit part of it chronologically. That means, oh, all of a sudden you're here in Taiwan, and next second they take you to US and then back, and then take you to UN. So it became even more challenging because to stay authentic, but then it's like it's really fast paced. So I have to figure a way to stay authentic, but make the transition as smooth as possible and help the audience to understand the film better.
Yeah, I mean, that must be, I mean, it sounds fun. It sounds like you got to dip your, your toes in different cultures and different sounds and everything. So that must have been, it sounds fun as a creative person for sure. I want to jump over to Sandro. Sandro, you worked on the feature film Plastico by young Venezuelan director Veronica Kompalik. The film itself threads the line between drama and dark humor as it explores the military culture in Venezuela under Hugo Chavez's government rule. I wonder if you could tell us more about this project and how did you approach the score for it?
Hey, thanks, Gaia. So I'm going to say it's like the most unique experience I've had as a composer. Plastico is a film, without giving too much away, it's a satire about the military culture in Venezuela since Chavez took over 20 years ago. And, it's of course, Chavez passed away and it's been like the same party ruling ever since. And, being from Venezuela, I'm very aware of what goes on. I've been living here in the States for over a decade, but I've been constantly going and and staying on top of the news and everything. So it's it's just very, very interesting. It's a film that at times it feels like a mockumentary. You hear the voice of the actual director in the film giving instructions, because it's as if the military military general is it's shooting a documentary, to show the world what how great the Venezuelan military, with the current party is, so and the soldiers that he's commanding are actually hired actors in the reality of the film. So it's very, very unique. It's very different. It goes in and out of it's very meta. It's very aware of itself. So for me, first time working with Veronica, who's a genius director and an amazing writer. She wrote this script, and it was us composers, we usually hate a temp track I'm sure you've heard this
Oh yeah,
many
from every
times.
composer I've interviewed. Yeah.
Because we all feel trapped with it. In this case, I got this film, no temp track, first time working on something like this. I don't have a lot of, I've watched mockumentaries and I've watched a lot of dramas and some comedy, but then like having something that's like all of these things together, and then it's like Venezuela, and I had to like edit a temp track in order
Yeah.
to like figure out like how we're gonna make this work, and like show different kinds of music to my director, and like have her like have a sense of what music could do with the drama of it. So it was really unique, a really unique experience for a very interested and original film. And I'm very happy with the score. We got to record a 24-piece choir in Budapest with Budapest
Oh, wow.
Budapest scoring. They did an amazing job. Most of the score is just that. In some places, we have some South American instruments like Venezuelan cuatro and ronroco, and then we have like synths here and there. And I'm not a cello player, but I recorded like some weird cello effects and like prepared stuff, and yeah, it was a lot of fun. A lot of exploration, experimentation, and it's an amazing project. I'm very happy about it.
That sounds amazing. And I'm glad that you had a positive temp track experience, because I know it's rare, but I've also talked with composers who actually enjoy it, because if it's used correctly, you can really help shape a film and put everyone in the same conversation. It's when those producers get stuck on it and go, no, make it exactly like that. That's when it's a problem.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's super, super useful. It's a useful tool, as long as, they don't get, they don't fall in love with what's there, and they give you the freedom. It should always be used as a tool to just like figure out the emotional beats of the scene, or a specific of a specific scene, and then just like taking those as a framework, and then just like putting your own voice and originality, and just like making it hopefully better.
Absolutely. Well, I want to now kind of jump to everyone. We'll go just down the line. We have such an amazing panel here. Everyone has, a different background, a different story, a different life experience here. So I'm just curious, how do all of your backgrounds influence the work that you do and the music you create? I know you're kind of putting on maybe a mask when you're writing for a film, because you're trying to do something that's not too personal, but I'm sure as artists, you want part of you to be in that music. So I'm curious how your backgrounds really kind of influence how you write and how you see music and how you see storytelling. So I'd love to, we can just go back to Kevin, if you want to kick us off.
Sure. Yeah, it's interesting. I think part of, at least for me, is I am Mexican, even though my name doesn't really seem like it. I was born and raised in Mexico City, but then I had an opportunity to go and study in England, and then I went to Spain for a year, and then I came here to LA. So I've been kind of jumping around a lot, and I think that kind of jumping around and listening to how different people make music in different countries kind of helped a little bit inform the way I write music. And it's funny because I am Mexican and I love certain things about traditional Mexican music, but I don't really incorporate that into my musical language as much, or at least not in the way that a lot of people think, but it is there. It's just a little more subtle. It's not like the mariachi thing, playing guitarrón, which a lot of people think, oh, it's Mexican music, It's not that, but it's certainly there, and it informs the way I write music, at least for me.
Absolutely. Dan, let's hop over to you.
I've been like a session player and I like performer for many years. Like I was like, prior to start composing with Milo, I was playing like 180 shows a year for almost 10 years. And I think the most thing I got from that experience is like working together, like if you play in a show and you're traveling with a band, or you're playing with an artist and you're like, it's like I don't know, a part of a team. I think that helps you, and that tells you how to like play with other guys, and how, and now it's like how to like compose with other people, how to like talk with a composer, with another composer, with the musicians, with whoever, like the director, the producer. Like it's easy to be part of a team, and like scoring a film is being part of a team. It's like we are like a huge soccer team. We are only like the goalkeeper or whatever. Like some
Right.
some people are the guys that making the kicks. I think I'm the goalkeeper.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I think that's my background made me a good team player. And I think I'm really aware about what's happening with all the team. I really like, oh, sorry, that's my cat. I really like being like in these huge meetings with everybody, with the guys from VFX, like shouting that they need more time, and like, you know, like everybody complaining about time or budget or whatever. I think it's great to be part and to know exactly how this thing that is like living and he's like it's about to born, how it's been like developed. So I think that's what my background got me. And
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Milo, let's go over to you. How does your background and, you know, who you are kind of influence your music?
Very important background, that is, I'm a rock producer too. You know, I have these old two faces going around all my life, you know, producing albums and making score. And that helped me a lot, you know, to understand the sound, how to record better, to understand the technical part of recording too. You know, I can mix, I can record, I can arrange, I can compose. So I learned a lot of things.
Yeah, absolutely. Wei-San, let's go over to you. You kind of talked about it a little bit already, that you know, composing the score for your film, but talk about more about how your personal journey and who you are kind of influences your music.
Train. I play piano and clarinet, and then I came to the States to study jazz because I'm interested in jazz, and then step into film scoring. So because of, like I mentioned before, like Taiwan is a culture melting pot. So
Yeah.
I love to work with people from have like different background and learn from them and learn from their culture. And because of all of this, I think it enrich my musical language when I work.
Yeah, absolutely. And Sandro, let's finish off with you and talk about your background and how it influences you.
Of course. I think first of all, you know, like already Kevin and Camilo said, you know, I'm from Venezuela, so that has definitely influenced me greatly. And even though I was never part of this of El Sistema in Venezuela. If you know what that is, it's like the orchestral, you know, the youth orchestra movement in Venezuela, which is very successful and popular. I wasn't part of that, but I had a lot of experience, you know, writing arrangements and recording with them. So back home, I had like a band, and I would play rock and grunge in the 90s, and then would write and, you know, record arrangements with musicians from El Sistema, you know. And when I got to college here in the States, you know, I had this whole mixture already, and I felt like I was mostly an orchestral composer, but like being in another country, I felt even more compelled to like study my, you know, like the Venezuelan music, you know, my roots, you know, and South American rhythms and all that. And what I ended up playing more, you know, at Berklee College of Music when I went where I went to school, was just like Venezuelan music, you know. And I tried to like mix that with orchestra and stuff. And then I moved to LA, and here in LA, when I first got here, it's like the projects that were available to me didn't have a budget for an orchestra. So like it was like time to like figure out, okay, what am I gonna do? So I started playing guitar, which I hadn't taken up till then. I started like investing on synthesizers and like got into that whole world, just to make my scores, you know, sound more organic and more, you know, real in a way, you know. Even though, you know, saying like it's gonna sound more real with a synthesizer is kind of it's kind of weird, it's kind of contradictory, but I feel like it is that way. And yeah, so I don't know, it's like every step of the way has taken me, has shaped who I am as a composer. Right now, like whenever I have a chance to record an orchestra, I try to like mix it with synthesizers, and it's like if I can bring a South American instrument, and even if it's in a way that doesn't necessarily feel South American or ethnic,
Mm,
you know, I'm gonna
yeah.
try to do it just like because it has become like part of my sound, you know.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. So Dan, when you were giving your answer, you brought up a great point about being on a team, and everyone has a role. You saw yourself as the goalie. So I mean, all of you work on a collaborative field. And I know a lot of the time you guys spent alone is kind of in a room with your thoughts, but you're working with producers and musicians and people on your music team. So I'm curious if you had one tip to give, like one piece of advice about how to like kind of successfully work as part of a group and kind of foster a great collaborative relationship. What would that advice be? Like over your years, I'm sure you've met some pretty bad personalities, some fun personalities, but kind of from your experiences, what is the key to having a great collaborative kind of relationship with everyone around you? So can we jump back to Kevin if you want to start us off?
Yeah, sure. I mean, isn't that the $1,000,000 question? I feel like for me, it has worked just to always kind of go back to the story and like, I feel like sometimes the reason that people clash a little bit, if there's like big egos brought into a room and then those egos start clashing. And then if you try to walk into a room and leave your ego at the door and ask people to do the same and just do whatever's best for the story that you're trying to tell. I feel like some of the most successful creative process that I've had happened like that. When people allow themselves to be a little vulnerable and just like, hey, what are we going to do for this project? What is it going to be? Do we need to throw all this music away and start over? Do we need to do this and carry on with what we're doing? And I feel like when you do that, people tend to react pretty well and move the things forward. That's been the case in my experience, at least.
Absolutely. Goalie Dan, how about you talk us how is it being on a football team and making sure it all works?
The first thing is the ego. I'm totally agree with Kevin, but I think there are two more things, probably like hear more than talk. Like everybody has something to say. Yeah, listen to everybody. And maybe like there's some people probably in every project that knows a lot more than you of the story you're trying to tell. So that probably if you can talk to the writer, if you can talk to, I don't know, whatever, the guys that were like in the beginning of the shooting, like all those guys have something to say that is amazing. And the other thing is like not to take anything personal. If they say that this cue is not good, they are not saying that you're a bad composer or bad musician or like bad person or like, I don't know, whatever. Right. It's like it's just that cue maybe it's great music and it can be used in another thing, but now in this story and this context it's not working, and it has not to be like personal. You have to like be really cool about like thinking that everybody is like trying to tell the story in the best way possible. So yeah, that would be my
absolutely. Milo, how about you? How have you figured out to make a great collaborative environment?
I agree with Kevin, with Dan. The parent about being a rock producer is I had to deal with a lot of rock stars,
Yeah.
And they are probably very touchy people, saying you sang that badly or that guitar lick is not good. They're kind of weird when you say that in the studio. So I learned how to say it, how to say it, not say the thing, but in another way, The other thing is, Wei-San said, is music is about learning, from other people all the time. And that's the most beautiful thing the music has. It's about feelings and it's about learning, You never stop learning here. Nobody have reason in music, It's about learn and learn more and more. That's it. For me, it's the key. Try to learn all the time.
Absolutely. No, that's well said. Wei-San, for you, how have you fostered a collaborative environment in your work?
I agree with everyone just said. And I think good communication is always the key, and be supportive understand the vision, and because especially for film scoring, it's always serving the film. So it's less about music, it's more about the film, and make sure they know there to help them to make the best film possible.
Yeah, absolutely. Well said. And Sandro, finish us off. Well,
Of
for
course.
you, what makes it a collaborative environment that works?
Well, I mean, I'll go back to what Kevin said. Leaving your ego at the door is the first thing. It's not about the music; it's about the project. And I did something. I had an experience a few years ago where I co-wrote a script and put together a crew with a director friend of mine in Venezuela. We went there in the middle of nowhere. We shot a short film. You know, my wife's an actress. We went there and then, you know, shot a short film for 2 days. Went through the whole, I took over, you know, post-production, you know, hiring people, you know, found investors, like did the whole thing. And then got to music, and you know, this was like, the music was like the shortest and easiest thing, I guess. I mean, I was still dealing with the director for sure, and I would like follow her direction and everything. But it just made me feel, you know, music is super important. It can for sure change how a scene feels and what it tells the audience, and you know, but you know, there's so much to the film, you know, and like there's so many people involved and so many things that can go wrong at any time, and like the production can completely die, you know, at any given point. So you know, when it gets to you, you know, you have to like understand that it's this, the film is this collaborative thing that you just happen to give your little, you know, grain of sand to hopefully make it a little bit better, you know. So like, you know, whatever reservations you might have about the story, wherever you might feel like it needs to go, where it's sort of irrelevant, you know. You have to like row, you know, the same way that everyone has been rowing, you know, throughout, you know, the writers and the director and the producers and, you know, the colorists, and like it's just a collaborative effort, you know, like Dan said, you know, it's a team and we all have the same goal, you know. So yeah, that's something that I recommend to like all of the composers that I know, you know, like go do it, even if it's like a 1-day shoot with an iPhone, and just like get people involved and like have the experience of what it is. And then, you know, because I feel like I see this whole thing like completely different, in a different way, you know, in a different light since I did that.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's one question that I want to pitch again to everybody that I really love asking composers, and it's simply, where does the first note come from? I'm curious what kind of pulls that first idea out of you. I know it's going to differ from project to project, but what typically do you gravitate towards? Do you like to see the first cut of the film? Do you like to read the script if you're on that early? Do you like to speak with the director? What's kind of your process in kind of generating that first little bit of ideas that are coming out of your head? So, and we'll jump back to Kevin to start us off. Kind of where does that first note come from?
Sure. I mean, I feel like every project is different, but 100% of the times that happens away from the keyboard, away from any musical instrument, away from the picture, any of that. I want to see whatever, I mean, ideally, I want to see whatever they have. If it's a script, if it's a cut, if it's a storyboard, whatever. I like working as early as possible, because I like writing music to an abstract rather than like an exact cut that they have. Because like writing music away from picture allows me to get the abstract, like the core of what the project is. And once I sort of figure what that is musically, it's way faster and easy to write a picture, because you already have those themes down and the vibe of the music and the whatnot. And my 90% of the times, the initial like spark of like, oh, that's cool, I think I want to do that, is away from the keyboard. It's kind of when I'm just thinking in the shower or in the bathroom or doing the dishes or doing something like that. And I'm kind of like percolating and thinking about it for days. And then you get that idea and you go like, oh, that would be cool. And then you go to the keyboard and put it down. That's kind of how I always start. Because if I sit down on the keyboard and just stare at the picture and like with my, you know, my muscle memory on the piano and the stuff, it's always the same. It's not exciting for me. I don't think it's exciting for anyone to listen to either. So that's how I usually do it.
All right, that's awesome. Dan, how about you?
Well, I think I don't know. When I really start is when I see something like something real, like the more usable thing like I do, or maybe Milo agrees with me, maybe no. But I think I need to go to the set. I mean, I read the script and I have a whole story in my head, and everything is like working perfectly. And the music I'm thinking is amazing for the film I'm seeing in my head. That is absolutely different to what they are shooting in.
Yeah.
So for me, it's really important to either go to the set or watch the dailies, or maybe like getting first cut, like really rough, or like scenes or whatever. Because when I like only like reading the script, for me, like it's great. It's a great like exercise, and it's amazing. And I like try to write music, and some of that music is amazing, but it's never on the film at the very end. So it's like, I know it's something that is like, I'm just like getting into that world, but I'm really far away. So yeah, for me, I have to see some real stuff. I really like to go to the set. I actually love to go to the set to talk with the director, even when he's like, or she's like absolutely busy, and like I want to be that like.
Yeah, just see something, and you're responding to images. Yeah. That's absolutely. Milo, how about yourself?
It's kind of the same. I need to see the actors. I cannot do it with the script. The script, it's so vague. I don't know. I need the actors, but in my case, change all the time. Sometimes I think a chord, and that chord, drive me to another thing and another thing and another thing. And in some point, probably without piano, like Kevin, probably just thinking about it. And then when I just sit in the piano, I have that chord and I have another chord. And, the result of that is, okay, it is chord here.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Can I add something
Sure.
about me and Milo? We just like today, it's been a great day. We spent the whole week working on a new Netflix show, and we sent all the music today. And we spent like the whole week thinking and talking about exact same thing we are all talking, like, how do we start? What are we going to do? And let's try to do something, because we don't have much like stuff for that show, just a few like clips, like 2 minutes clips and stuff like that. So we've been struggling with this like the whole week. And like half hour ago, the producers sent us an amazing email saying like everything was amazing, and they love it. And so, yeah, this is a good day. And I just wanted to tell you that.
Celebrate that. That's amazing.
Yeah,
it's always good. I mean, that's probably the most nerve-wracking thing, when you hit that send button and then you're just waiting for the feedback,
For me, the whole week is I'm unbearable. It's like for everybody in my house know that I would be nervous the whole week, even with like we did it like a few times. But every single time it's like, oh, this is not good enough or whatever, it's that nervousness, what we all love about this, I think. And I see that everybody is like nodding, because I think we all feel the same thing.
Yeah, I think people need to realize how vulnerable it is to write, and you're putting so much of yourself in the music. Everybody does. So when you're sharing it with somebody, that's like you're opening up yourself, emotionally. It's a scary thing, it's for sure. I consider myself like a mix of an extrovert introvert, but I don't like exposing myself too much. But it's like when you're creating, that's all you have to do. That's how you connect with other people around the world, is sharing and connecting on a human level. But that's amazing. Congratulations on the good feedback.
No, it's a good day. Sometimes it doesn't work like this, but today it was good.
All right. Well, let's go over to Wei-San. Wei-San, how do you start a project? Where does the first note come from for you? Where do you like to? What's your starting point?
It depends, but usually I want to. I'm trying to find a unique tone, like a sonic palette, other than melody, because I feel like it has to find a tone that is right for the whole film, or stories, or the color of the film. So that's usually my first steps.
Yeah, no, that makes sense, because finding the tone and atmosphere can completely set you on a different path than starting with a melody that may not work for that world, for sure, 100%. But Sandro, how about you? Where do you start for that first idea of inspiration?
I guess Yeah, it's like a hybrid of what Kevin and what Dan said in a way. And by the way, Dan and Milo, congrats on, because I know the feeling. Like you send stuff and like, especially it's like the first, if it's your first time sending something for a new project, it can be like super nerve wracking. So yeah, congrats guys.
It is.
But
Thank
yeah,
you.
I mean, it's like if I'm, if I get hired and I, super early and I can get the script, that's great because I like writing scripts, like I said, and
Yeah.
and I love reading scripts, and I'm not gonna develop music by only reading the script, but I might just have an idea. I mean, I can start thinking about the story, and what implications, musical implications the story is giving me, um, and then I might have write a melody that could or could not work at the end. It sometimes makes it to the final product. Sometimes it
Yeah.
doesn't. But when it comes to like textures, the concept, the musical concept, the palette, like Wei-San said, yeah, that comes when I start seeing like more of a, finished product, more of a, an edited, like a fine cut, if I have to start on a fine cut, I'll do that. Um, if I can like actually write to picture when I have the luck, that's the best, just because like you see what the scene's gonna be, what the performances are, what takes they chose, and that tells a lot about where a film ends up going, like they say
Yeah.
that you make three films, like one when you write it, one another film when you shoot it, another film when you edit it. So like like American Beauty, like it was like a more of a procedural, courthouse thing when they in the script, and they even shot it that way, and then they in the edit it became this whole other thing that's a masterpiece. So going back to the idea of all of us, being in a team with the rest of the crew, and the filmmakers, it's like only when you see the film edited, you can actually like know which way everyone's rowing towards, and like you can like do your bit
Yeah,
to help out.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So this is going to be open to anyone who wants to jump in. I want to pitch this question to everybody. We've seen the worldwide buzz with Squid Game, Casa de Papel, and of course all of your projects. How do you see the landscape of international filmmaking evolve? How has streaming, I guess, helped these stories come to a wider audience, or do you feel that's the case, or maybe it's something else? Like, what, from your viewpoints, what has happened to make these stories, worldwide stories, international stories, more popular?
I'm sorry.
Go for
Yeah,
it.
jump on.
You wanna? Oh, okay. Sorry. All right. No, I'm just gonna say, I'm happy that there are these outlets that have completely changed the way, you know, I don't want to say content because I don't like that word, but stories, the way stories are told, and the way they are distributed, and in a way like the same way YouTube kind of broke all of these perceptions that like there were gatekeepers who would say, would have these requirements of how
Yeah.
someone needed to look or sound and blah blah in order to even like get a deal to record music. Now like in YouTube, it's like anyone can has a chance to become famous, and then the people decide who they like and who they don't, and who becomes popular. I mean, yeah, there's investment in marketing, blah blah blah, whatever you want, but at the same time, there's more opportunity. And I think like with Netflix and with Hulu and streaming services, there's an outlet that tends to be even more diverse. There's more opportunity for different kinds of voices, and I feel that in that way, like for instance, this idea that American people don't want to read subtitles has kind of been debunked, like
Yeah,
because you
I
have
hate that.
something
I hate
like
that thing.
Casa de Papel, like you said, and documentaries from other countries, and French films, and a lot of things that have become like really popular in
Yeah.
these streaming sites, and so
Or just
yeah.
looking at Parasite recently winning Best Picture. I mean, just It's fantastic. I mean, it's just there's so many stories being told that haven't been, yeah, exposed to the wider audience. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think
Anybody-
that's a direct consequence of this opening up, and like, and the amount of stories being told, the amount of films and you know, series, you know, TV shows and web series, you know, that have had the capacity of like seeing the light of day, because there are so many outlets, you know, and then it's up to people to decide, you know, what they want to watch, and you know, what kind of content they like.
Yeah.
I think is that what you just said, Kai? I think it's exposure, because you know, I was just talking to a good friend from Netflix, and he was saying how like surprised they were aware of like the massive hit that Squid Game was, for example, and how he like kind of came out of nowhere. And I think that talks about like this kind of hunger for like cool original ideas, regardless of what language they are on. You know, it can be in French and Japanese, in German and Spanish. It doesn't really matter anymore. And I think that fact that all these streaming services are kind of pushing for all this cool new content and putting it in front of people that is just like exactly right next to whatever, you know, content you're creating in the UK and here in the US, it's almost like validating that content and being like, hey, like check it out. And when people do, they, if it's good, they'll gravitate towards it, which I think is freaking cool, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think also it's like really interesting that it's like the production, it's also like worldwide now. Like like it's not only like, not all the things are happening in like in America now. Like it's only like they are producing stuff in like in France, and we all watch it everywhere. But also like the teams are getting a little bit more like spread. Like we've been working for last year for a show in Germany a few years ago, in a show in Turkish, like in Turkish show, like from Turkey. Like it's more like it's easy to share and to create together. Like the pandemic also helped this, like these kind of things that we can get together even we are not in the same like city or whatever, and we can like, I don't know, like review things. We can record remotely. Like it's been like recording remotely, it's been there for a long time, but now it's like we got used to. Like the last 2 years, we got used to, because there was no other way to do it. So now, like recording in Budapest is like, okay, yeah, of course. It's not like that. That's not like, it's not like because it's cheap or because it's not that good, because you don't have the money to do it here or whatever. Like we did the whole music of Maradona, the show about Maradona. He's an Argentinian soccer player, and we did everything with the orchestra of the Teatro Colón in Buenos Aires. So the players were like watching the name of the cues, and they were like, okay, I want to know what's happening. So like everything is a little bit more closer now, because of not only like the audience, but also like the production part. I think it's from everywhere now.
Yeah, no, 100%. I think I was in Los Angeles. I moved back. I'm from Maryland originally. I moved back home, so I'm still working at Cartoon Network Studios because we're all remote. I mean, it's crazy. You know, you don't have to be in Los Angeles and Hollywood. And I think that people should know that. People are probably like, oh, I need to move there to make a career and do that, but it's possible. 100%. It probably helps to make connections when you're there, but it's possible to have a career anywhere in the world, I think, today. And I think our new reality of working remote is, you know, is putting everyone on the same playing field for sure. I do want to jump around for one more question for everyone, because I want to know, you know, you put so much passion and heart into what you do. So I'm curious, what is the most fulfilling part of your job? What is the most creatively rewarding part of what you do for your living? Is it writing that first note? Is it hearing your music come alive with an orchestra? I mean, what for you is like the most creative, rewarding part for it? So we can go start with Kevin again.
When you're done.
I know that feeling.
No, yes, at the beginning, at the end. No, I think it's like that when you have the time to kind of explore a sound palette a little bit, and and you kind of like, sometimes I like discover things that I didn't think were gonna work for a project, and I just like, you know, throw them in to see how it works, and it's like, oh, that's interesting. I've never done that. It works really cool. I like that feeling. I like kind of discovering new ways how music can affect picture. That is very fun. And obviously, which I think anyone's going to agree, when you write an orchestra score and you hear it back with an orchestra and having all the amount of like talent, that is priceless. That's
Yeah, I think that's what everybody strives for.
yeah, that's is, you know, there's a reason why we all love that, you know. But yeah, those two moments for me are probably the most fun.
All right, Dan, how about you?
Yeah, I think there's one moment that we all will share, that is when musicians come, you know, like even if it's just one guy, you know, like when music starts to get like sounds like humans, not like as the contact samples. But the other one that I really like is like going to the dub, and because I cannot do anything. It's like, okay, it's already, if it's good, it's good. But if it's not, it's not in my hands now. So I have to go there and enjoy it because there's nothing I can do about it. And it's like really, for me, it's relaxing. Even when like I know that I could make things better or whatever, I love being in the dub and saying, okay, this works or not. But I don't know. But it's nothing I can do about it.
Absolutely.
I like not doing anything. That's the thing. Yeah.
We'll finish up this question with Wei-San. Wei-San, how about you finish us off with this, and then we have one more question for everybody. So Wei-San.
I think for me, it's like when I create something, I surprises myself. Like, oh, I didn't know I have it. And then the other moment for film composers is like when a direction, they like the score, they love the score, but they also pointed out why they like it. And it was exactly when I'm writing this. That means that, oh, I really understand their film and they really get my music. I think that's the most fulfillment for me.
Absolutely. No, 100%. I mean, they have the feedback. Yeah, 100%. So, you know, I don't want to keep you guys too long. I want to wrap up with this one final question. You know, you've followed in footsteps of people who have come before you. You're carving your own path. And I know every path is different. There's no set path on how to do this career. But if you had to give one piece of advice to the next generation of composers, of storytellers, what would that one piece of advice be? And we can start with Sandro, please, if you were to give the next generation one piece of advice, what would it be?
Well, it's hard to give just one. I'm gonna say be persistent. You know, it's a career of resistance. Yeah, there's a lot of rejection along the way, and you just have to be persistent. And the other thing is just like be unique. You know, the only thing that's gonna get you through is just having your own voice.
Yeah, absolutely. Dan, how about you? Piece of advice.
I would say I was finished with the first thing I said, like be part of a team, like enjoy being part of a team, like enjoy, like everybody has something to make your thing better. Like if you have a musician there, ask him like how you wrote it, whatever, he can make your music better. So like you have to take advantage of that. And that's like with everybody in the whole production. So yeah, be part of them and be a better team player.
Absolutely. Kevin, how about you? One piece of advice.
I'd say build meaningful relationships. And what I mean by that is, you know, I see a lot of people kind of, you know, trying to get to know people and trying to, you know, get ahead in the game, but it's very like cold and almost like, you know, nobody wants to be just the guy that can like sign a check. I feel like if you make an extra effort to try and create meaningful relationships with other artists, filmmakers, blah, blah, not only will that nurture you as a human, as a creative, but also they will feel good. And also creatively, I think the interaction is usually better and allows to do things that sometimes is not quite as easy if there's, you know, kind of that coldness of this is just a business transaction. At least the way I work, that has helped.
Yeah, and I definitely networking. I agree with that completely. And I don't envy people coming into this business at this time because it makes it so much harder to network. We, you know, doing this, I think we have all our connections and we take it for granted now because we've had times to mingle at parties and all these events and stuff. But I do, when things are back to normal, hopefully very soon, I urge anybody to go out there and just put yourself out there, meet people, shake hands, and learn and ask people about themselves. Don't make it about you trying to sell yourself. I think it's just, you know, talking and being,
make an effort to get to know people really, rather than just like seeing what they can get from them, you know.
Exactly, 100%.
Enjoy. Enjoy.
And
like it's also very important. It's an amazing job. We have So enjoying it is really important.
That too. You have to enjoy what you do for sure. Wei-San, how about you take us home? What is one piece of advice to give to the next generation?
I think everyone mentioned it already. So it's kind of like embrace yourself, then embrace yourself, because it's a tough business. So I mean, be unique, but be prepared.
Yes, definitely be prepared. It is a tough business, but I think I've seen that passion and it really pushes through, and people who are passionate and work hard, things will happen for sure. So don't give up. That's what I would say. Don't give up. But we come to the end of our panel tonight. I want to thank you all for sharing all your stories. It was just so enlightening and just amazing from all of you, hearing all about your backgrounds, your stories, and congratulations on your projects. Thank you to everybody who's joining us and listening. I want to thank Impact24 PR for helping coordinate this and put this together. We have 2 more panels in this series. Please visit Film.Music.Media.com to check those out. And have a great night, everybody.